Mikey's here.
We're doing very well. Thanks for asking me, Senator. Hey, what's with you, Senator?
So you gotta go too. Yeah, it's over. Thanks, guys. All right, take care.
It's over here, but show me which one, because I don't know. Here, come around real quick. There was a guy who walked out with a big briefcase.
Let me get some.
Hello, testing. Everybody hear me out there? All good. All right, guys, we're going to get started here. If you guys want to grab a seat, head over from the bar area or the food area. We're going to get started right here in a minute. First of all, thank you all for coming. This is our 6th event, our 6th lectures night. We've got a lot of people here who've been here before, a lot of new faces as well. But we just want to say thank you all for coming, especially those who jumped on a plane, paid for a hotel room to be here tonight. So if you did that, if you took a plane to be here, just stand up or raise your hand. I'd like to acknowledge it. We have Mark Mader right here, flew in from Louisiana. We have Irving Cash over here, flew in from Austin, Texas. Dallas, Texas, excuse me. Who else here flew in? I know there's more of you out there. Tom Palafroni, Florida. Who else we got?
Upper West Side.
Upper West Side. Thanks for making the trip.
Lots of traffic to beat. We understand. Thank you.
Hey, there he is, Ben Weingarten from North Dakota. Guys, we do the shout-outs to people who jumped on a plane to be here for a reason. When we started this event, we were so surprised that you guys would jump on a plane, pay for a hotel to be here for something like this. And that's why we did it, because this is such a good hobby, and the community we're building here is it's so important, and it really means a lot to us, especially for the guys who are paying for airfare and hotels to be here. So thank you all for coming, and if this is your first time, thank you for coming as well. We have a hell of a show for you.
Guys, everything Chris said, thank you for being here. Throughout the night, you're going to learn a lot. You're going to hear a lot of cool things. We do encourage you guys throughout the night, please go get food. Please go grab drinks. Not too many, but go grab drinks, have fun. But while you're doing that and while you're catching up with friends and networking, please be respectful of the people that are up here speaking and trying to teach you something, as well as the other audience members. In between each segment, we do take breaks, so there will be time for you guys to network, catch up with friends, meet new people, and I will stress that, meeting new people. Alright, Chris and I do not spend the time to type up these name tags that you're all wearing for nothing, right? Everybody in this room is here for the same reason. We love to collect, we love this hobby, alright? And you can learn something not just from us, not just from the people with microphones on stage speaking. You can learn something from anybody in this room. I mean, there are plenty of people in this room that have some of the best collections in the hobby, a lot of 7-figure collections in this hobby. So there's really good people in this room, and that's what this event is about. So network, mingle, have fun, just please be respectful of everybody else that's speaking and everybody else that's trying to listen.
Yeah, that's big, guys. If you can, the speakers, they did spend a lot of time preparing to present to you today and speak to you, so just please give them the undivided attention. That's really important to us. Also, we want to tell you, if you haven't been over here yet, to your right, this is our curated collection area. We have some really cool, unique items, stuff you don't see every day. This is not a sales thing by us. We just want you to enjoy it. So please take your time. You can walk through where the food is, or walk through in front of the stage here at any point. Just head over there. There's some really cool, unique items. Some one-of-one items as well. So we think you'll really enjoy that.
I want to thank Sean of Sean's Bar and Kitchen for letting us do this. This is our 6th one. He and his entire crew, you'll see him throughout the night. They're the best in New York City, so thank you guys for everything you do. I also want to give a shout out to the guys helping us out tonight. We got Dave Cooperman on the live stream, a couple of other younger guys up front. If you guys have any questions, need anything from Chris or I, can't get to us, please ask them. They will help you out and relay the message, whatever the case may be. And last but not least, guys, the raffles. All right, we obviously hyped them up leading up to the event. You saw them when you walked in, but we do want to show them off again. A lot of great pieces tonight, donated from our speakers tonight, right, as well as us and Brigandi Coins and Collectibles. So if you didn't get a chance to see it, we have some of the highlights here. Henry Yee will be raffling off 2 pieces, an awesome Type 1 original photo of Mike Tyson. What years is from Henry? From 1989. So we got a young Tyson This is pre-face tattoo Tyson. Chris is holding a Michael Jordan Type 1 original photo. This is from the 90s. He obviously dominated the 90s.
And real quick, just to talk about values here, these aren't $50 photos here. This is like a $1,500 to $2,000 photo that Henry's giving away. And the Jordan as well is about $1,000 too. So these are some awesome giveaways.
Yeah, we got the Jordan jersey, excuse me, the Jeter jersey, Yankee pinstripe, official jersey, Hall of Fame patch on it. And then Jeff Rosenberg of TriStar Sports is giving away some awesome signed baseballs. We have Fred McGriff, new Hall of Famer. Roger Clemens with some inscriptions, and when you see his stats, you forget how good he really was. And Dusty Baker. The Astros don't get a good rap up here in New York, but Dusty is an absolute legend and one of the most respected guys in all of baseball. So some awesome stuff for raffles, guys. If you didn't get a chance to buy tickets and you'd like to, you can still buy them throughout the night. Just see Chris or I or some of the guys up at the front desk.
So that's our introduction. We're done. Yeah.
I think
so. We are going to kick off the night right now. Our first guest is Jeff Rosenberg of TriStar Promotions, and welcome, Jeff, everybody.
JB, you want to come up here, sir? Jeff just asked where it's his introduction, but JB needs no introduction. John Brigandi, everybody.
Thank you for coming tonight.
So, Jeff, actually, I forgot to introduce in the beginning. I'm talking about flying on planes to come out here. Jeff is from Houston, Texas. Thank you for making the trip. We really appreciate it. And Jeff is a legend in the hobby. He's been doing this for how many years?
Over 40. I know I look young, but I'm 58. But I actually started collecting in the early 70s. Started setting up at shows in about 1980.
So tell us a little bit more about your introduction to the hobby, how you got started, and bring us to where you are now.
So the hobby, when you know it's a hobby, was very different when I started. In the early 70s, every holiday, every gift, I wanted baseball, football, basketball cards. And then just a very fortuitous moment for me. In 1978, a friend of mine said, "You'll never believe there's this incredible gathering of people in a local hotel buying, selling, and trading baseball cards and autographs." And I thought, wow, that sounds pretty cool. I was 12. It was, I think, February of 1978. I would have been 13 that summer. And I show up with a friend, and I had $20, okay? And that was a lot of money when you were 12 years old in 1978. And I'm not kidding, I don't think that 20 lasted 30 minutes. And what was funny was, I actually still have it. I bought a 1955 Topps Hank Aaron card. And before I came the other night, I was going through, I've still been working since then to get, I have a set, but I want a better, always want better condition. And I was looking at that card, and that was a life-changing moment for me to see a show. And actually the next year in 1979, with two other friends, I think it was about $60, we got a booth. So for $20, I had about 2 feet, about one display case worth. And the only thing I had of value, I was going and getting autographs with my friends. So I put out some duplicates so I could get money so I could buy more cards. And I wanted to turn my Pete Rose and Mike Schmidt autographs into money so I could buy Hank Aaron and Willie Mays cards. because I didn't have a chance to buy 1955 cards since I was born in 65. So that's how I got started.
And then at some point, you turned your hobby, your passion, into a career. And I know you also, by trade, you're also a lawyer. So tell us how you decided to pick sports over law.
And that was a pretty easy choice for me. The only difficult part was explaining to my parents, who had invested in a college and law degree. So in 1987, I graduated college, and two buddies of mine and I, for those that remember, that summer was a pretty big home run chase. Mark McGwire had about 33 home runs at the All-Star break. He ended up with 49. And I met his agent at the National Sports Collectors Convention. A friend of mine was putting that on in Bob Lee in San Francisco. And Bob Lee said, Jeff, why don't you go pick up Willie Mays at the airport? Why don't you go pick up Mark McGwire's agent at the airport? Man, I couldn't grab those keys fast enough. And I didn't even know where the airport was. It was in San Francisco. I live in Texas. We didn't have phones, GPS in those days. But I found him, and that weekend, the agent of Mark McGwire, the promoter of the show, one of the card companies did a little cruise in San Francisco. So we're out on the bay on a ship, and the promoter of the show walked up to McGwire's agent, said, this is my friend Jeff Rosenberg. He's the biggest promoter in Houston, Texas, which was a complete lie. I had never promoted anything in my life. And the guy said, well, I know Jeff. I met him. He picked me up at the airport. And so from that show, my other buddy and I went to Las Vegas to do another show. But the third guy had a real job. And I was in the middle. I had just graduated college. I was going to start law school that August. We told the other guy, go rent a hotel so we can have Mark McGwire sign at our show in November of 1987. And that's how I became a promoter. It was crazy, fortuitous.
So, JB, as someone who followed in similar footsteps, a lawyer by trade, now deeply involved in the hobby, did Jeff make the right decision?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. There's nothing like buying it one and selling it two, right? It's the biggest. When you practice law, you don't resolve anything, right? It's just like it's ongoing. You never get a resolution, of course. But when you buy it $2 and you sell it for $8, it's a rush, right?
It is, and I was telling the story earlier tonight. I had no money. My parents never gave me money for sports cards. My father worked hard. He sold corrugated boxes, and all he wanted to do was make enough money so we could eat, we could have a place to live, and we could all go to college and law school and graduate school. That really was my father's aim in life, and so it was pretty tough after he put me through law school to tell him I wanted to sell baseball cards. But in 1980, I bought at a show, I bought a Mickey Mantle 1952 Topps card. I had $3,000 is what I owned in my life, and almost all of that came from my bar mitzvah in 1978. And I did not tell my parents. I took the money out of the bank. I bought a Mickey Mantle rookie card on a Friday. But on Sunday, I was so scared to have to face my parents Monday, I sold the Mantle card for $3,300. I wish I had saved it, but I couldn't afford it.
Jeff left out one part about his bio. Jeff is responsible for a number of shows, the guests at a number of shows, including the National. How long have you been setting up the signers at the National? How many years now?
About 25 years.
Yeah, he left that out. So with the National, how many did they have this year? 25 or so?
I had 137.
Yeah. Back in my day, when I was good looking and I had hair, they were like 25. It was pretty impressive. He lined it all up. It is a massive undertaking, right?
It takes a lot of time.
So he knows a lot of guys.
So speaking of knowing a lot of guys, you mentioned McGuire in the late 80s. At the store, we refer to Mickey Mantle, Joe DiMaggio, and Ted Williams as the big three for this hobby. Their signatures are out there, but everybody still wants them no matter what. For us, they're probably the three most popular guys. Now, I'm sure that both you and John have some great stories about shows with Mantle. Maybe not as good stories with DiMaggio, depends on how he felt about you. But are there any stories that each of you could share about Mantle or DiMaggio doing shows with them that are, this is a bar, so, just nothing extra, R-rated is okay with Mantle.
It's also live streamed.
Yeah, but so don't go too in depth with Mantle,
But it's a bar.
It is a bar,
so that's appropriate. Well, Mickey was always really nice. But in 1988, I think it was. I don't think it was 87. It was 88. We would sell Mantle balls in the store window, and we'd sell for $29 and $39. And so I said to a fellow by the name of Don LaPointe, put it together from Catel, and I said I want to put some Mantle balls because I think they was gold, So he said, yeah, you know what? It's not $10, it's $12, $15 anymore, with the ball. It's $23. I don't give a shit. I'll just, I'll put them at 39 instead of 29. So I did 1,000 pieces with them. $23,000. So we go up to his room to pick them up because he's St. Moritz. We walk in, it's about 11 o'clock, 11:30. He already got paid. And he's pouring into a pitcher tomato juice in beer. And he starts to stir it. What is this? And he goes, John, you want a drink? And I looked at him and I go, nah, I've had my V8 this morning. So that was one man. But Mantle was always really, really nice. If he was intoxicated, which happened occasionally, he was a bad drunk. I mean, he was downright filthy, I'll leave it at that. I mean, really, you could drink with him and it was like, wow. And you weren't words, you weren't stuff.
Exactly my experiences. So I had done some autograph signings with Mantle in the late 80s, and in 1990, I had it at a show in Houston, and it was pretty interesting. He would come in then, and John's right, and I'll never forget, I told my partner it was $50,000. He signed 1,000 autographs a day at $25 each. So I had to pay him $50,000, and this is the craziest part. I charged $25. So I paid him $25, and I charged $25. I just wanted to get people into my show. And it worked, except some younger entrepreneur decided, why should I pay? I'm going to make copies of Jeff's tickets and sell them to people. And unfortunately, it wasn't until I think later in the day, Saturday, that somebody figured this out. So Saturday night, we finished and we had to explain to Mantle we'd been ripped off $5,000, 200 tickets. So he said, you know what, we're going to go to dinner and we'll figure this out together. I didn't know what that meant. So we had made a reservation at the nicest restaurant in Houston. And my uncle knew the owner very well. So I called my uncle, I said, it's a coat and tie only place. They don't have these places in Texas anymore. But it was the only restaurant, Tony's 5-star restaurant. You had to wear a coat and tie. And we had a limousine, we pulled up to the restaurant, and I should have known it may not go so well. He had already started drinking. And we get out of the limousine, and there's two couples, 2 women and 2 men. And a woman says, that's Mickey Mantle. And the husband says, that's not Mickey Mantle. And Mantle goes right in the guy's face, I am Mickey Mantle. And so we walk in the restaurant, And there was a miscommunication between my uncle, the owner, and the maitre d'. So here comes the maitre d' welcoming Mr. Rosenberg, Mr. Mantle, and he takes a sport coat and tries to put it on Mantle. And Mantle has nothing to do with this. Jeff, we're getting the F out of here right away. So remember, we don't have phones. This is a long time ago. Maybe we had a cell phone. I don't know. But somehow we call Root Chris. They said, "Sure, come on up." So we show up to Root Chris Steakhouse. There's 6 people. There's Mickey Mantle, Mickey's son, the woman, Greer Johnson, who he traveled with at that time, and his quote agent, maybe with benefits, possibly. Myself, my father, and my uncle. And the walk up to the second floor, kind of like here, except it's like a 45, maybe a steeper angle. It's a real steep angle, maybe 70 degrees. So we get up to the second floor, and I'm not kidding you, there were 6 bottles of wine, 2 carafes of liquor, a lot of beer, and I don't know that my father, uncle, and I touched any of it. The other 3 drank all of it. And they all, and his son, and me, they could all drink it. And the flash through my eyes was, promoter kills legendary baseball player. My father and I are on each side. My father's not much bigger than me. And Mantle is strong. And he's a strong drunk, okay? And somehow we get him down, and now we have to get him up the next day. And anyway, he looked at me, and I'm 25 years old. Well, actually, in January 90, I'm 24 years old. I was a yard graduate of law school. So I have to go pay him. Remember, I'm already down $5,000. And I discreetly laid 200 baseballs out. And I said, "Mr. Mantle, if you remember what I told you last night, they beat me out of 200. And he just gets right in my face, real gruff. Is that my problem or is that yours?" And man, all the blood had just come out of my whole body. And I said, "Well, it was mine, yes, sir." He goes, "I'm kidding with you, Jeff." And he signed all 200 of those balls. And he took there was a plastic baseball sitting there. He said, "Look, I know it was a rough weekend for you." And he signed this plastic baseball, hands it to me. He says, "At least you'll go home with one." And that's right behind my desk in my house to this day.
Yeah, that's a great story. And
I had 2, and I'll try to keep them really fast. One Williams, one DiMaggio, and the reason, compare and contrast. It's a good one. So I would go out to St. Louis, to the famous St. Louis show, which is like 4 times a year, to see Bill Goodwin and his partner. What was his partner's name? Rich Hawkson, yeah. And after the show, they take the 2 or 3 guests who signed on the show. They take them up to the hill, Tony Quito's. So here's the DiMaggio story. DiMaggio, and Dick DeCourcy was part of that coterie, and Dick would always ask for, he liked wine, so he asked for us to always sign a cork, wherever we were. If you're in Pittsburgh, you sign a cork. And corks are small to sign, right? So we pass it around. So this is so typical DiMaggio. Yeah, I don't do that. I don't do that. Everybody, I've ever been to usual, these guys, they just signed it, right? It's a big work. But I don't do that. You know why? Because someone could possibly make money on that cork. It's like, are you freaking kidding me? Anyway, so now you have Williams. Same weeks later, months before, I don't know, whatever it was, he of course signs it. And he's talking about batting. You start him with batting, it's just, it goes on forever, right? And he'd be one of these guys. So, So he looks at me and goes, so I get this questionnaire in the mail. What do you think the greatest sporting event was? The greatest feat in baseball? So he goes, what do you guess? I go, Johnny Lawson's no-hitter? No. What else you got? Bobby Thompson's home run? So I go like 3 or 4. Maybe somebody else interjects one. No. I'll tell you what the great, every other word is an F word. I'll tell you what the greatest effort is. This guy. And Mickey Mantle, hitting the effing facade in Yankee Stadium. You know, that effing ball would have gone out. Yeah, I know the story. Because, let me tell you something. You know any idea how tough that is to do? Yeah, I played Little League baseball. I know. and he says, you know, before I effed up my shoulder, in batting practice, I'd say, I'll bring that effing ball right here. I never could do it, even in batting practice. I'm like, wow, that was pretty cool, you know. And then there's a bunch of other stories, but that one stuck out. I'm like, wow. So you had DiMaggio, who was a jerk. And we can go on for hours. The two of us can go on for hours about DiMaggio stories. And how cheap he was, etc. No one could make money. He was the only guy who could make money. And if he sent anybody, make money. And then, of course, Williams, who would just do anything for you, right?
I'll follow up with DiMaggio real quick. So, in 1992, I did a show, and I had DiMaggio and Mantle. And I really committed, apparently, the cardinal sin. So, it was fairly well known they did not get along. So, I had this idea, I'm going to put Mantle on one side of the building, I'm going to put DiMaggio on the other, and let's just hope the ships don't cross in the night. And I'm over, I didn't sit with the players too much in those days because I'm running the show. So I would kind of go back and forth, make sure everybody's okay. Mantle's always fine, no problem. DiMaggio looks and says, whose line is that on the end over there?
You know, Mays used to do that too.
It was the only one longer than his. And luckily I had graduated law school, so I was pretty quick. And I was younger then, so I was a little quicker. And we had Akeem Olajuwon from the Houston Rockets signing. And I said, Mr. DiMaggio, I believe that's Mr. Olajuwon. So I was okay. I got out of it. There's two things that happened that weekend. Number one, we were allowed to sell 900 autographs, of which no bats, and only 100 of the 9 could be baseballs. And 50, I think there were $50 per. Well, when we did the tickets, we were so nervous that we may go over 900. So, you know, and we used to give them the shops to sell. So, when it was all said and done, my fear was, you know, we're going to go over 900 and we're going to really hear it. So the show ends, and my father and I have to take DiMaggio that evening to the airport. So we go, and it was really strange. It took him like an hour before he got in our car. He was like in the bathroom at the hotel. I have no idea what he's doing.
I know what he's doing.
He was counting the autographs.
That's Dick Gordon told me the story.
And it was short.
Yeah.
And we had like 833. And he gets in the car, he says, I owe you 67 autographs. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, we don't have the items for the next time I see you. And I see him again about a year or so later, whatever year, somebody can look this up. The All-Star game was in San Diego. And my partner Bobby and I walk into the lobby of the hotel in San Diego where all the All-Star people are. There's a big horde of people. There's like a press conference. And there's DiMaggio. So we wait. DiMaggio finishes. I know you guys. You're from Houston. I owe you 67 autographs. It was like over a year later. And he said, you had a Coca-Cola banner behind me. How much did they pay you to do that? A friend of mine worked for Coca-Cola. So it was pretty sharp. He never missed it. As John said, he didn't want anybody else to make a dollar.
Just to follow up on that real good. So Dick Gordon was his manager. And Dick said, you know, you can tell, for hours he could tell stories, but along those lines, he had a box, if you recall. He would have a box where they ripped the ticket in half, and he put his half in there because he wanted to make sure that no one, the promoter, didn't put extra tickets in. And I guess probably over the years it probably happened quite a bit, you know. So Dick Gordon tells a story where they're leaving your show, and he's got the walking out with the shoebox. He's got to go to the bathroom. So Dick goes, no, hold the box. He goes, oh no, I got it. And he went to the bathroom. He says, "You got to see this. You got to see this picture." He's at the urinal, and he's holding, but he's trying to do both at once. He said it was the most comical thing you ever want to see in the goddamn world. And then, son, will you tell me the other side of the story? So, crazy stuff.
Yeah, you guys can obviously go back and forth with DiMaggio, Williams, Mantle stories all night long. But I want to, before we go into your show and tell items that you brought in real quick, just to give everyone a little bit of like a background about how much things cost from the time. You said mantle walls were $10, $20, $25. DiMaggio was up to $50 at the end. Just to give you guys an idea, if you don't know already, Mickey Mantle signed baseball, in nice condition today, is at least $900. DiMaggio a little less, he's probably about $600 or so, and Williams a little less than that. So buying and holding the big three in that time period obviously paid off. And Jeff, you do these signings today. Is there anyone that you're doing signings with today that you're thinking could be like a Mantle, DiMaggio, Williams type? Or is it oversaturated? Or just kind of, before we go into your show and tell, just give us a little opinion on that.
Yeah, I think that's a great question, and I get that question a lot. And I want to tell you, when we did Mantle, Williams, DiMaggio, we all thought they were oversaturated. Okay, they were $25. He signed $2,000. Let me explain. The guys today sign a lot less because Mickey Mantle was retired. He was making more money signing autographs than he ever did playing. So he would do 30 to 40 weekends like that. So you can do the math. I mean, 30 to 40 weekends, a minimum of 2,000 autographs. So we thought they would never be worth money. And my wife and I, 7 years ago, moved into a new home. So I got to find some things, and I had a couple dozen boxes with some balls of Mantle, DiMaggio, Williams. And what was really cool, I don't know how I got this idea, but I had asked Mantle to sign some inscriptions. And one was like 1974 Hall of Fame, HOF, and a collector told me, I sent him the picture, and he said, "Oh wow, he usually just signed 74 HOF. That's really rare." And then I had Triple Crown, I had some different ones for my collection, and those might be worth $5,000 or more, depending on the inscription. I got 5 or 6 different inscriptions. So there are guys today, and I don't know, is it going to be Mike Trout? Is it going to be Ohtani? But one of the things that I would tell my partner, I would say, okay, now there's 350 million people in the United States, back then 200 million. And I would tell my partner, yeah, we think, okay, he's signing 40, 50,000 a year, but there's 200 million people in the United States, even if 10% or 5%, 10 million, they're still nowhere near enough. And I noticed this when Jeter was here as a star. I'm very close friends, and I represent Roger Clemens, and I would come to New York, and I would see the demand for Jeter. And I'd say, yes, Steiner, this company, they're doing these signings, but we ought to keep buying more of these Jeters, because everybody loves Jeter. He's like the next Mantle, DiMaggio. And so I think those are going to be still really good baseballs, and especially the ones that have the great inscriptions and things like that.
Yeah, inscriptions has totally changed the way people collect, something that Mantle and those guys rarely did. But today, collectors are always trying to make their collections different, and that's kind of what we promote too. If you're going to collect a Jeter, which is fairly easy to find, try to get an inscription, which he doesn't really like doing, or he charges extra for it. But that the scarcity factor is there. But let's go right into some of your show and tell stuff if you want to grab it for you. So Jeff was explaining, he does the promotions and he does all the current signers, but that's not only what Jeff is an expert in, what he really collects. So he's going to show you some awesome items from his vintage collection. He loves vintage baseball. I was really excited when he told me what he was bringing out here, and I hope you guys feel the same way. And this is going to be really cool. So take it away, Jeff. And if you want to start, if you want to start with your first item here.
So what I want to talk about is a lot of people hear what I own and they're like, "Oh my God, you must have been so rich to put this collection together." And I said, no, I had no money. This is 40 plus years of curating a collection. And so whatever level you are, just start. Start immediately because, 10, 20, 30, 40 years from now, you're going to have some really great stuff. So I have history here in New York. My mother's from New York. My mother's parents are from here.
From Queens, I might add.
From Queens.
Thank you.
Yes, but my other side, my father's family is from the city. My grandfather, all of his brothers worked so he could go to Columbia. Just so happened to be going to Columbia when a guy named Lou Gehrig was there. Now, my grandfather passed in 1967 in June. I was 1 year old, so I never really knew my grandfather. But his brothers and nephews and my father told me the stories. And my grandfather, which this would have been interesting because he was about 5'6", he boxed with Lou Gehrig at Columbia, but he was also his math tutor, from what I understand. So growing up, I always wanted to own a baseball signed by Lou Gehrig, and I bought one, and this is it. So that's a single sign. So we're talking about sort of scarcity. Babe Ruth, great baseball, worth a lot of money, obviously. I own the highest graded one. I own a Babe Ruth PSA 9.5 baseball. There are no 10s, it's only 9.5. But this is the Lou Gehrig. Much, much rarer, right, than a Babe Ruth baseball. So that's a pride and joy.
Just to add to that real quick, most experts and dealers we always come up with these numbers, but I think most would say that for every 100 Babe Ruths, how many Lou Gehrigs are there? One, five,
maybe one, maybe.
Yeah.
So I asked Steve Grant that question once, who's seen a lot of them, and he said it's at least 100 for everyone. He's the lead authenticator for Beckett, used to be with PSO. So we're in New York. I thought Lou Gehrig would be cool. This is another guy who I loved as a kid. In 1976, this was my guy. He was the catcher for the Yankees, and his life, just at 32 years old, tragically ended. I still can't believe he's in the Hall of Fame, because in my eyes, he's a Hall of Famer. That's a single sign baseball of Thurman Munson. Again, fairly rare, because back then people would get Reggie and they get the other guys on the ball. So not a lot.
He didn't like to sign.
And he did not like to sign. And it's on the sweet spot, which again, typically the manager or Reggie Jackson would sign the sweet spot. So
and both of these balls, they are official balls on top of it, is that correct?
they are, yeah.
And the Gehrig as well.
Official baseball.
Oh, okay.
Real quick, with the Gehrig, you mentioned the sweet spot on the Munson. I think it's great that Gehrig did not sign the sweet spot. He was a humble guy, a little more low-key than Babe Ruth. He always saved the sweet spot for Babe Ruth. But even when Babe isn't on that ball, Lou still decided to go on the side panel, which I love.
Absolutely. And again, my collection is very visceral, emotional for me. It's not about the money, it's what I like. So I collect just things that are interesting to me. So I chased autographs until I started law school in 87. So around 1987, 88, I stopped. I didn't want to ask anyone younger than me for their signature. So I stopped asking. But I get autographs from my shows and that, but I don't like to personally ask the people I'm hiring them to do it. So I kind of stopped 87, 88. But let's see, 2018, I was down in spring training, and a friend of mine belongs to a golf club. Said, I want you to come play with me. The guy whose club it is going to be playing, and I think he's going to be playing behind us. And that guy was the sitting U.S. president, Donald Trump, at the time. So I said, okay, I'll come over. I hate golf. I don't really like to play, but if Donald Trump's going to be playing behind us, I'll do it. And early that morning, I took my partner's kids to spring training, and they were getting foul balls and putting them in my backpack. So I show up to Trump's golf club there in Florida, and the Secret Service are like, what are these baseballs? And I said, well, we were in spring training, so I've got these baseballs. So Donald Trump, in 9, asked if he could go ahead of our group. So he goes on to 10, we're teeing off at 9, and then he got called off the course. He comes back in his golf cart, and my buddy that knows him, so they start chatting. and I look at my friend, I asked him to sign a baseball. I haven't asked him for a long time. And he said, sure. So Trump says to my friend, who is this? And the first thing out of my mouth is, I represent Tom Brady. I knew Trump liked Brady. He goes, really? Come over here. So we had a nice visit, and I said, Mr. President, would you sign? And pretty rare, I called Steve Grad at Beckett. I said, hey, I may want to get this authenticated. I'm not going to sell it. It's my collection. I got it signed. He said, Jeff, you don't know how rare a sitting president to sign a baseball is. So, pretty neat item. Again, just a collector's item for me.
And one thing to note about this is that Trump famously, since he's been president, he always just signs his last name. But you have a full signature,
Yeah.
which is rare for him.
And that's what I sent Brad the picture, and he said, I can't believe he signed in full. But we were chatting, so he was just taking his time. I'm a big Tom Brady fan. I have the first helmet he ever wore at an NFL game. And I didn't bring that, it's a little big. But I had a pretty good time at Super Bowl 51. I think the greatest Super Bowl ever when he came back against the Falcons. And these are actually the socks he wore in that game. So very hard to get items unless people steal them. But you can't get his helmet, you can't get his jersey, but these were available when I was able to acquire the socks he wore.
We appreciate you keeping him in the Ziploc.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Is that tied? That's pretty good.
And my friend Mark Bader over here will recognize I had a couple of these signed. This is the full ticket from Tom Brady's NFL debut. And I was lucky to get a couple, and now Mark has one in his collection. And I think Mark and I have maybe the two best graded signed tickets that exist. So a nice piece of my collection. And my wife will laugh, but a little part of my personality, I'm sorry I'm in New York, but tickets are really rare now because everything is on your phone. And so my team is the Astros. I grew up actually sort of a Yankee fan because my grandfather and my mother and my father was a Yankee fan. But at some point I did have to change to the Astros. And they won the World Series last year, and I was able to secure a full ticket from the final game where Jeremy Pena won the MVP. This is Game 6 from last year. And it's
Don't clap for that in New York.
very, very rare PSA 1010. So anyway, just part of my collection. So really appreciate you guys letting me come here talk about this.
Thank you, Jeff. Really appreciate it. JP, I know we have a few items if you want to show some real quick.
Well, we appreciate Jeff coming. Jeff did this as a personal favor to me, which was really nice. I can get all the old timers, Anyway, so we always bring memorabilia. Chris is constantly putting great pieces up on Instagram, so I said, you know what, this time change things up and bring some of our cards. They just run the gamut, but they're all they're all pre-war. So this is a high-graded 7 Tris speaker Cracker Jack. You don't see them that great. And I have to tell you, they're not that expensive. That costs maybe on a good day $20,000. To me, that's a great buy. By the way, Tris Speaker was one of the greatest players of all time. People don't realize it. You get a chance, look up the stats, and you'll see what I mean. If he's not among the top 10 best players of all time, I don't know what I'm talking about. This is not a particularly tough card in terms of population, but it's a 7. It's a Lou Gehrig 1933. Again, that's not really a lot of money. Here's an incredible card. It's a
Texas Tommy.
Texas Tommy, Hannes Wagner, in his 6th grade, which is unheard of. Texas Tommy's well over $100,000. I think we paid 1,000 for it or something. I love it. And these two we've had, maybe forever. I don't know. I just couldn't bear to sell them, and it just keeps going up and up. These are easily 100 grand a piece. One is a American Caramel, 1921 Babe Ruth. That's a 5.5, right?
5.5, yes, sir.
It's a really high grade for that. Take it from me. It's a candy card now. And the other is a 6.5 Ruth, 1921. Designations what? W575. Another great card. These are really super rare, especially in these grades. And then lastly, because I love it, for you movie buffs, 8 Men Out. This is Peaches Graham. Peaches Graham played one game, never got up to bat, and it's really high grade. It's 204 Ramley. So I thought that was cute. It's not worth a lot of money, but I just love it. That's something I was asked before. Is there anything you wouldn't sell? Yeah, this is something I wouldn't sell. It's not worth a lot of money, but it's really cool.
Moonlight Graham?
Moonlight Graham.
You said pizza.
I'm sorry, did I say peach? I meant Moonlight Graham, I'm sorry. I always get the two mixed up. That's what you collect, what you love, right? I've got so many things that I love that are not worth a lot of money, but they're more dear to me than a 9.5 Ruth bat, which is worth a lot of money, and they're really scarce. So, yeah. So thanks for
John Brigandi, Jeff Rosenberg, two hobby legends. Oh, I'm sorry, did you want to say something?
So, one thing, and it really, I can't let the night go without saying it. So when I was a young man, I'd walk around the card shows, and the dealers mostly wouldn't give young guys time. But this guy right here, John Brigandi, his good friend Bill Goodwin, I didn't have any money and they gave me time. And I remember going to dinner, and I talk a lot now, but then I just listen. And I learned at the feet of the hobby legends, of which John, Bill Goodwin, and some other guys are. And they allowed me in, and that's why a young man here, Sean, is 18 years old, and he wants to do the same and learn. And I think it's so important that we give back and do that, because I learned, and I watched what John bought at the shows. Okay, I see cards today that are 2 years old that sell for 500,000 and $1 million, and it's hard for me to understand, but I know how hard to condition these cards to get. So I learned from the best, and I'm very grateful that had that opportunity, and I appreciate it.
Well, thank you. That's really nice to hear. And that's why we did this. This is 6.0, right? This is our sixth one.
Number 6.
And that's why we do these. It's for collectors. It's not about money. You guys all have great collections. You all can afford it. But it's about building up camaraderie and building up communities. And all I can say is just keep giving back, because you'll get it sixfold anyway.
Yeah, and please, we're going to have a break right after this, but introduce yourself to Jeff and my father if you don't already know them.
We have more stories.
If you didn't know the other stories. But one more big round of applause. Thank you for coming, guys. Really appreciate it. We're going to do a break, right?
Yeah, quick break, grab a drink, grab some more food, say hi to people you haven't seen yet, and if you guys want to take a look at this stuff real quick, we'll hang out here for a second too.
Yeah. Guys, we're going to start here in 1 minute. If you don't mind just grabbing your last drink, take a seat. We're going to start up with Henry Yee. That is a photo authenticator. Expert.
Either one.
So please, guys, grab a seat, grab your last bit of food. We're going to start here in about 30 seconds with Henry Yee. Can you cut the music? How you doing, Goop? Goop, you alright? Is that working or not?
It's not picking up.
Alright guys, we're going to start up here. Please grab a seat. We're about to start. Alright guys, we're starting up here. We'd like to welcome Henry Yee. He is a photo authenticator and photography expert. You all set there, Henry?
1 second.
If you guys want to come in from the bar area, grab a seat. All right. So guys, welcome Henry Yee. Henry is probably the foremost expert. He probably doesn't like me saying that, but he is the foremost expert in the world of photography. He is the guru. I don't know if anybody knows better, but Henry, thank you for coming. This was a long time coming, and we're really happy to have you here and shed some light into the photo sector of the hobby, which is blown up, but you've always been a part of it.
Oh, well, thank you, Chris. You're too kind with the greeting, and thanks for having me, by the way. I want to thank John Brigandi, who I've known for quite a long time, since the 80s, and of course, his fine son, Chris Brigandi, and also Chris Caserta. So, again, thanks everyone for coming. Yeah, I mean, this is exciting.
So I was going to say, you got, for those who have been here before, you've heard from Ben Weingarten about Type 1 original photography in the back, or the guy Ben over there. As Ben likes to say, Henry Yee, we tell Ben, you're an expert in photos, we want you to talk. He goes, I might be an expert, but Henry is Yoda when it comes to photographs. He always says that. And another thing I have to point out is, this week Henry was, he gave us a call to talk about how the night's going to go, and he had no special request other than, you did ask, can I be in the 2-hole like Jeter? And I was like, absolutely, you're going second. So.
Yeah, I'm a diehard Yankee fan. Like a lot of diehard Yankee fans these days. Our Octobers are being resorted to, I guess, watching other teams kind of like compete and all, and it's a shame, but hopefully Mr. Cashman can, kind of pull some rabbits out of the hat for us and all, so we can at least when we do one of these in October, we can actually watch the games on the screen, and that would be nice, right? So yeah, but in the meantime, it's a presentation which I'll be doing, and there'll be a lot of heavy Yankees, I guess you would say, so hopefully
perfect for this crowd, yeah.
there you go. So
Yeah, so Henry just kind of mentioned, obviously you guys see the screen. We're going to try something new this time. I think you guys will really appreciate and like it because there's this screen here. We're going to have a presentation that Henry's going to do. Just a different style, but I think this is going to be the best way to understand photography. A lot of you out there probably don't know the ins and outs of it, and it can be a little intimidating, but Henry's going to break it down for us today. But before we even get to that, just kind of give everybody your background. How did you get into photography? How young were you, and what was it about photos, black and white photos? Does that really appeal to a young man? I don't know, but how did you get into it?
No, absolutely. I mean, like most collectors out there, like you guys all, I mean, we all started pretty much cutting our teeth on baseball cards, right? I mean, that's what we call the gateway drug, right? Into the world of sports memorabilia. And, and growing up in New York and such, so I was always very, the skyscrapers of New York City, and as well as, New York in general is just a big city. So when I was a young kid and all, I was more fascinated about New York of anything. I mean, anything in New York related and stuff. So actually, my background actually started when it comes to collecting, was really started collecting New York City photographs. I was always fascinated about old New York, turn of the century, 20th century stuff in terms of how, I grew up in the Lower East Side, and it was a very humble neighborhood. And, I mean, right now it's an area where there's a lot of high rents and high bars and stuff, but back then it was really, a crap hole. Just to say it like
Just tell us what you really feel about it.
Absolutely. So, I started, and of course, growing up in New York and all, you usually gravitate towards, being a sports fan, you gravitate to one of the New York teams, and I always like to paraphrase, Joe DiMaggio, that, I like to always thank the good Lord for making me a Yankee fan, otherwise I probably have I don't want to knock on Mets fans and my stuff though, but I'll probably have probably the greatest Greg Swan or Casey Stengel collection. But at any rate, so I started hunting photographs in the 80s, and back in the 80s most of the photos that you do see are usually found in flea markets and swap meets and all and such. And I always, look for like old New York City photos in, a lot of the bargain bins, and they're usually hidden in these rows of, like mixed in with yearbooks and other, programs and other newspaper cutouts and all that stuff. Though. And I started finding, like old New York City photos, photos of how New York appeared back in the turn of the century.